What's up, family? It's your big sis T Renee, and I am back today with another story. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Hey, I'm hoping that one day you find something on this platform that resonates with you and make you want to come back and subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm hoping you enjoyed today's video. I know y'all are here for a story time, and that's exactly what I want to give you. But before we get to that, y'all, go ahead, drop down below in the comment section, leave a hey girl, hey, what's up, big sis? As in always, comments are welcome and greatly appreciated. Just keep them respectful. As you all have seen the title, you have an idea of what this story is going to be about. So family, let's get to that story. So today's story time is about the time that my homegirl and I got left stranded in another state by these guys that we were like talking to, hanging out with, cool with, one of those little situations. And the friend that I was hanging out with in this story time is Dree. Now, if you are OG to my channel, then you may have heard of Dree. Dree is somebody I haven't talked about in a long time. And just a little recap about her. Dree was that friend that was always in survival mode, trying to get her kids back. Now, she kind of lost her kids to her ex-husband who used to beat her butt because she was seemingly the unfit parent during certain times. So, you know, she didn't grow, her kids wasn't around in their younger years with her, and they're still not until this day. Like, yeah, it's been years she didn't have her kids. Like, they were married, like I said at one point, so they were around, but as they got older, she just was not in the picture like that. But anyway, like I said, Dree was that friend that was always in survival mode, and she was always that friend. She was also the friend whom I've talked about in a few story times that have always tried to put me in situations where she's trying to get me robbed, ex-trafficked, or unalived. Like, seriously, like, I know that sounds so crazy that this girl did this to me one time and I went back around trying to forgive her and thinking that maybe that's not what she was doing. Yeah, I know, y'all, sometimes we are so dumb. Sometimes we have to just go through the motions to learn our lessons through things. Luckily, those things never happened to me, but she was that friend. But this was during the time that we were still cool, you know, none of that stuff was going on. Like I said, we were just real tight. She was introducing me to guys that had a little bit of whatever they had going on, you know, might have had a little cheese, whatever. She was always chasing those type men. And she was trying to get me back out there dating again and introducing me to guys, or just, you know, just hanging out. And if I liked them, if I with them, then she was like, hey, yeah, he got a lot going for himself. You should get one of those. She was always that friend trying to push me to be out there. But honestly, y'all, and I never really mentioned this, and I may have to give this story time at some point in time, maybe to my membership. Dree was also bisexual, and she always used to bring up the fact that she wanted me and her to sleep together or be girlfriends, be together, basically. And that's why the time that I met her brother, he was trying to talk to me. It was kind of awkward because she and I knew that she had been trying to date me. And so it would be very awkward for me to date her brother. Even though me and her went on that type of time, it just would have been still awkward because I know how she feels about me. And so it would have made things so weird if I would have dated her brother. So I made sure that didn't happen. But anyway, y'all, so yes, during this time, like I said, we was meeting different guys, whatever, you know, we was kicking it with these one guys for a little while. They was y'all tight as hell, used to do all kinds of stuff for us. But they decided to ask us to ride with them to, where would we go, y'all? We were supposed to be, we rode to Atlanta with them, y'all. Now, mind you, during this time, I had never really gone to Atlanta, so I was really excited. Now, take that back. I have gone to Atlanta back when I was young. I'm sure we went to Atlanta when I was young, you know, visiting MLK sites and all that type of stuff. But in my adult life, I wasn't really pressed on going because I just heard all the crazy stories. You know, I'm not one to be around a whole bunch of crowd and all that. Even though I travel and do other things in places that I know are touristy, I don't know, Atlanta was not one of those places on my bucket list. Just like Dubai. I've never been hyped to go to Dubai. Now, I may, if convinced, go to some places around Dubai, like Abu Dhabi, you know, it's probably even stricter. And that's not the reason. I don't know. It just doesn't intrigue me. And I feel like a lot of people that try to flock to those places, they want to go just to brag and say, hey, I went here, one of the richest places in the world. as far as what people know. But just like any other place, there are poor parts, and then there are other parts where people got boo-hoos of money, just a whole bunch of money for no reason and nothing to do with the splurging on exotic things, even animals. So yes, y'all, it's never been one of them places. But anyway, so yes, I digress. I agree to go because, like I said, I'm young. I'm turned during that time. I don't mind. I was still, hanging out or whatever, and yeah, just cool. Was excited to meet some new guys, just a fresh breath of fresh air. And then they were a little older. I have always liked the older guys. Anytime I've dated guys my age, there's always been some drama there. But I don't know. Not saying it don't be drama with the older guys, but things just seem to pan out a little smoother with them. So we hanging out good with them. And so, of course, I agree to go with them. I didn't really have to work this particular weekend or whatever. Yeah, because I had went back to the job. I was off from my main job because of some legal troubles I had got into with my ex-fiance. I had eventually went back to the job. So, I still had some vacation time and all that. Even though I had been on leave, I still had some time that had occurred that I never used. And so they didn't even use it. They just let me be on leave. So I was blessed in that department to not have to use my personal and flown and any of that stuff. So I had some time and I was taking that time off. And so I was kind of excited to still be hanging with my girl and go out because we hadn't been out because, like I said, I had started back at my other job and I've been working a whole lot. And she was back working and doing some other things because the company we was at first, they ended up letting a lot of people off. I was still working somewhere, but just not at my job because my job made me take leave because of the situation. And I had to go through the program I had to go through. But this job was hiring people that had legal troubles, if you know what I mean. So yes, y'all, that's how me and Dree met. I don't know if I gave the background about that. But anyway, so yeah, the time comes, we riding down there. Of course, we drive because it's not that far from Tennessee. Just having a great time, y'all. Folks chiefing in the bag, under the influence of other things. Y'all just in a dangerous situation. But of course, during that time, you don't care about none of that stuff. You're like, hey, I'm not the one driving, so I should be good. So we get there, whatever, and we get an Airbnb. Yes, Airbnbs was pretty new around this time, but we get an Airbnb. That way it was spaced out because it wasn't just me and Dree. It was a couple other females. Yeah, we knew them from just hanging out and like probably about 5 guys, a couple other guys, whatever. It was a lot of guys, and it was like 4 of us girls. So we get there, whatever, and then we was, discussing the rooms, which I think we had done before, but we was discussing the rooms. Me and Drew was going to be together, and we didn't mind sleeping in the same bed. We really was trying to put all the girls in a room. And I know that's really not a good thing, y'all. Sometimes that can be a disastrous thing. So, but like I said, the place was big enough where we didn't have to do this. So me and Drew was in a room, them girls was in a room together, and then the guys, they did what they did or whatever. It was a really big house, and it was beautiful. Of course, this is Atlanta. Y'all know they got that. They got it like that. So we was in a really nice spot. And so we doing the normal things, the normal touristy things where, it's a turn up vibe, going to different little food spots. We did do a couple sightseeing things. Yeah, I know, right? Because like I said, y'all, I hadn't been in my adult life, and somehow I convinced these guys to just do some touristy sightseeing things. And we kind of did some stuff like that, I guess, to kill time, to really be on vacation for real. So, yeah, we a couple days in, and I just knew at some point in time this is going to happen. The guys, getting super comfortable. And of course, we out of town with them, and y'all know how they go. Men feel like if they treat you somewhere, you got to give up some ass. That's just how some of them feel. And I knew this time was coming. So yes, one guy just kept pushing up on me. Like I said, it was a couple guys. We weren't necessarily really talking directly to any of them, but we all were attracted. Like, I'm usually not attracted to the same guys that my homegirls are attracted to. But in this situation, all the guys was very attractive. They had some things going, like legal things going. They weren't out here doing no illegal stuff, making money. They was making money. They had really good jobs. And, just doing some things, had a little wealth hand in some things in the city, in our city, like for real. And, here we are. But I knew at some point in time that this may happen, y'all, but that does not mean that I have to give you anything. You volunteered us to come. I had my own money. Now, Dree, on the other hand, she had some money, but I don't think she had money like, I had saved up or whatever for me. So I was like, if anything was to happen, baby, I know how to get myself out of this situation. You know what I'm saying? But y'all, so, time goes on. Of course, dudes doing a little touchy-feely and things like that. We intoxicated. You ain't thinking too deep about it. They not doing it to where it's super perverted and where I feel like they're going to take advantage of me. It was like that, we'll be out party doing different things, and, we all dancing on each other, and just, it kind of gave, we all were just carefree. And honestly, we all probably were carefree, but this was not one of them times where I want to be carefree. I still wanted to get to know these guys a little bit more because I went through a lot with my ex. And so I just was not ready to just give myself to somebody in that aspect. I may have in the past been okay with maybe hooking up with somebody I ain't known too long. But this is not one of them times. I'm kind of I'm kind of a little more mature in the situation about certain things. You know, it's too much going around, especially, even though we weren't with no guys from Atlanta, but they would be there. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, man, people got stuff for real. And I just was not trying to be on that type of time. And I didn't want to, that thought that they may give me something ruin the vibe. It's just that I just wasn't comfortable yet. And who knows, like, if you wouldn't have been pressuring me, this particular guy, we're going to call him Rob, then maybe it would have happened. So, you know, maybe it would have happened. So, yeah. Okay, like I was saying, I'm not going to necessarily give all the guys a name. We're just going to give the two guys that we was around the most a name, which was Rob, which was the one that was really into me. And then we're going to call the other one Said. Yeah. So Said was the one that Dree was always trying to get up on. Like, she was really trying to push up on him for real, because, you know, he had some stuff. He was very well off in this friend group. He was the one with the money for real. And that's the one that she was trying to get with. But him, he was just chilling. You know, he wasn't trying to do the most, even though he was very much acting like Rob at some points. Like we had to get him something because they paid for most things, and they did. So yes, y'all, time going on, and they really get into a space where now they trying to pressure the fact, you know, we'll be laying up at night and they will be coming in the room with us. You know, we ain't chilling. We ain't tripping because, you know, they pay for this and we just in the room chilling. It's 2 beds, and so we just sitting up doing what we do, you know. But it got to a point where it was really late and we all dozing off in the room, and they still in the room with us. And of course, like I said, I'm not tripping because I know I'm not going to be giving you none of this. And I guess they felt like we was finna have, what is it, a quadruple? Is that for y'all? I guess they feel like we was finna have that going on up their room. Because Dree, and what I call him, y'all? Dree and Said, they definitely kind of did some things, you know. Matter of fact, if I recall, oh, they did the thing, like they went the whole 9 yards. And so, of course, you know, Rob in the bed with me, and I ain't gonna lie, I was just letting him rub on me or whatever like that. I think he did, you know, some things with his fingers, and we probably kissed or whatever, but it did not go beyond it. Like, he was trying his best. He was, y'all, when I say the man was peer pressuring me like we was some high school kids, like, the stuff he was saying to me, I ain't heard since when I was in high school. Guys trying to pressure me, talk me into some stuff. Just really, you know, like, y'all, and to the point where it was really giving pedophile. Yes, he really was on it. It made me feel like, and matter of fact, I found out that he did at some point in time do some stuff. Like they always say, everything that glitters is not gold. A lot of times these guys, not all guys, they be having wealth and be having a lot going for themselves and not settle down or don't even have kids and stuff like that. They be having some things going on with them. And he definitely was one of those guys. So I was like, yeah, this is why he's single. You know, in hindsight, this is why you single. Like, you are almost 40 years old during this time. Because like I said, I was still pretty young. I might have been in my late 20s. And this guy was probably like about 40, probably right at 40, 39 or 40 or whatever. He was probably right about 40. They were around that time. Y'all got all this going on. Y'all this age. Y'all not settled. And don't get me wrong, some people work on themselves financially before they settle. And I respect that. And that may have been the case with them at some point in time. But then, honestly, I see why they were not with women. They were monsters. So, you know, he tried to play it cool, but y'all, the very next day when we got up, he was a totally different person to me. He was acting so mean, so nasty, like throwing little jabs at me, just saying all kinds of crazy, insulting things. And I was trying to be cool because I'm like, we are all the way from home and with these men. I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to just let him be in his feels. And I just know in my mind that I was going to talk to him later like, look, you know, I was just going to talk to him like, look, don't take it personal. I'm just really not ready for that yet. Like, I had in my mind that we can talk this over because we're adults. We're grown, mature adults. And, I didn't want to blow up the scene and just really give in to stuff he was saying in front of all these other folks. I was just trying to be cool. I didn't want nobody to know that he was trying to hook up, and I didn't want to hook up. I didn't want to embarrass him like that. And his homeboy was in the next bed getting it in with my homegirl. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I was kind of the one. I don't know, y'all. So I guess, at the time, he felt like I wasn't going to give him none because, like I said, I wanted to talk to him then later on that day. He just didn't want to talk to me. I was like, can we talk? He was like, no, I'm straight. I'm good. Like right now. He was finding every excuse he could think of not to come and talk to me privately. But he definitely was trying to push up on my homegirl, Dre, for real. Like, he went to her next, I guess, and some of the other girls. And one of the other girls, I think he did do something with one of the other girls. I'm not going to get them no name because they not really relevant for real. Like, they was just there. They was cool. But I think he definitely hooked up with one of the other girls. And like I said, he was trying to push up on Dre, but Dre was like, no, I could do it with your homeboy. It ain't finna be that. Like, no. Like, we really was trying to just keep it, cool, keep it chill. But in these guys' mind, they was going to have a big orgy with us in the house. The other girls were down, y'all. They definitely hooked up with the guys in the house. And he was trying to really get me and Dre to hook up with them. And surprisingly, I ain't gonna even lie, my homegirl was a little out there at times. I really thought she was gonna be cool with the party. And y'all, this just reminded me of a time in college when I was invited to a party with a friend, my closest homegirl, and she brought me to an orgy, a big one, y'all. The stuff I seen, it had been my first time seeing some stuff like that, y'all. It just reminded me of the story from college. I'm gonna make sure I link these stories here, y'all. This stuff is crazy. I think it was like 1 or 2 parts. And there's some old stories that I told some years ago when I first started my channel, but y'all, that stuff was so wild. So this reminded me of that. I was like, oh my God, here I go again. Why are people always trying to put me in these situations? Do I look extra freaked out? Now, it was a point in time where I might have been. I might have been cool or trying to give in, even though I didn't give in college. You probably could have missed me at some point in time. Because, I was just living my life single and, like, whatever. You only live once, right? But I never really did a lot of those things. You know what I'm saying? But, y'all, so it's coming close to the day for us to leave. So I think we had like 2 days left or whatever, y'all. Y'all, how about we woke up the next morning and these guys were gone? And so Dre is calling them. We getting no phone call. The guys are gone. When I say they left all of us girls in the house, and the girls was calling the other guys, they didn't exchange them with them. And so in my mind, I'm like, see, I'm glad I ain't getting no ass because y'all done gave it up to them and they left. Y'all, these folks left us stranded in this house. And matter of fact, I know we had another day, but the person that owned the house ends up coming there because they trying to figure out why we still there and the guys had checked out. And it's like, later in the day, it had been probably like 1 o'clock. They checked out probably like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we were still at the house. So they were trying to figure out what was going on. And we trying to explain, like, they abandoned us here, they left us here. We trying to explain what's going on, y'all. Mind you, these are our rides back to the city. Back to Tennessee. So like I said, I am so glad that I had money for real. So we collectively put our money together and we had to rent a car to get home, y'all. When I say I was so hot, dead hot the entire time. Luckily, we all kind of like rotated to drive because I know I was not finna drive. And matter of fact, the car wasn't really in my name for real. It was in one of the other girls' names. But, I think I did put up probably most of the money. I didn't care at that point. I was so ready to go home. I was mad. I said, man, I'm going to make sure somebody do something to these dudes. Guys, I was so mad. I was just threatening them guys. Like, we were blowing their phones up. And, I feel like I should have to do that. This ain't my man. But the fact that you left me and abandoned me in another state, knowing that you don't even know if I can get home. Yes. And so I guess that's like a group trip gone wrong, right? I didn't even think of it like that for real, like a group trip gone wrong. But y'all, I could really go into detail for real about some other little things, but I don't like to make these story times too long or drag them all out. But if y'all do want a part 2 of this and how we confronted these guys, y'all drop down below in the comments and just say part 2, whatever. And then I would definitely give y'all a part 2 about what happened when we got back home and confronted these guys, y'all, because it definitely was some stuff that happened. And Dree, she is crazy as hell. She got some crazy people that she knows for real. And like I said, that girl really could, if she really truly wanted to do some crazy stuff to me, knowing what I know now about the people that she know, she could have probably really set me up with some stuff. And I felt like she was pressured to try to set me up to rob me and do whatever these dudes were trying to do to me. I really felt like she was pressured. And just if you could just hear her tone and how stupid she was sounding when she would say these things to me, it was so easy for me to catch on. But I got great discernment anyway. But it was just so easy for me to be like, nah, something ain't right about this, because it's the way you saying it. Like, you must really think I'm stupid or something. But that's a story for another time. But like I said, if y'all want to hear a part 2 about what happened when we got back to the city from Atlanta, y'all drop down below and let me know in the comments, say part 2. I hope y'all stay for the duration. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thank y'all so much for being patient with your girl, for not having these videos posted as often and as quickly as I would like to. I just been hustling, just trying to get my money up, take care of some things I need to take care of. And I'm definitely going to make sure I get another video out to y'all real soon. And as y'all been seeing, I've been trying to transition into posting my other content. Y'all please tune in to my other content. Please tune in and watch my travel video that I posted for my birthday. That's just super late. I went on that trip in January. That video should have been posted at least by the middle of February if I couldn't get it out, the first week. It definitely wasn't going to be at the last week of January because I was, still traveling, whatever. But yes, y'all, go tune in for that. And I got some other things that I'm going to be posting. Y'all, thank y'all so much for the love. Thank y'all for hyping my videos, those that hype my video. I don't think my travel video was where I could hype it. I didn't see any hype buttons on there. I don't think they hype those. But anyway, y'all, thank y'all so much for those that do hype, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 hypes. I love you so much for that. Y'all, also, check out my community. I post things on there. I'm going to get back to posting things on my community just to be communicating with y'all in real time, or, somewhere real time. Again, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye. To catch up on any prior story times that were mentioned in today's video, make sure you click the links in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel.